Florida State officially wants out of the ACC. Here is everything you need to know about it. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Bombshell news out of college football. Drake Toll from ESPN Central Texas, joined by Nathan Brown at Big 12 Mafia. Thank you for making Locked On Big 12 your first listen every single day. It is broken that Florida State, the Board of Regents, expect to sue. They will sue. They filed the suit already today, Nathan, against the ACC and the league's grant of rights. Again, this is not at ESPN, who is still a large player in this, but this is Florida State suing the ACC to get out. And the first thing I want to hone in on is the list of things that the Noles put together for why this grant of rights is fraudulent and they should be let go is dozens upon dozens of reasons that can be summed down, as Ross Dellinger put it, to the inability to generate financial revenues, substantial revenues, and maximize athletic opportunities for its members. And Nathan, as we unpack the meat and potatoes here, the what you need to know, there's way more than I could have expected with this.
Well, in the famous words of Taylor Swift, that famous college football fan, we are never, 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 ever getting back together. So that's it. Florida State is going to be leaving. They've told them they're not coming back. This is a one and done. And this has been building. It's not just been building the last 2 weeks because of the college football playoff snub. It's not been building just since the summer. This has been building for almost a decade now. 2016, they signed that extension, that one-page document that was basically just continuing the contract they started in 2011, 2012. So getting to this point, Florida State put all the resources and time in that they felt were required to do this in the right way. And here we are today.
The ACC's exit fees and grant of rights penalty violates the Florida antitrust law. That's the first thing that I see. Now, I knew they were going to come guns a-blazing, but they truly took out everything, even to antitrust laws. The grant of rights presents an unenforceable penalty, a breach of contract, a breach of fiduciary duty, violation of public policy. You name it, Florida State has pulled it out of here. But I think the bombshell one, the one that everybody needs to know, ESPN isn't required to pay the ACC past 2027, and none of us knew that.
Yeah. The president of the ACC signed unilaterally on his own, without consulting the rest of the ACC, an extension that gave ESPN the right to renegotiate in 2027. It didn't leave any of the power in the ACC's or the school's hands. So it's a complete breakdown. It's an own goal, as I saw on Twitter. I think that's a wonderful way to put it. And at the end of the day, the ACC is in real trouble now, because if you think Florida State's the only school that's going to use this, I think you're smoking something that might not have been grown locally. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun for the stuff you and I do. For Florida State and their people, they're marching on. Like you said, they filed that document today, or filed suit today, and it's on for getting on.
I think it's so great, too, the way that you put it earlier. This is a decade in the making and really heated up this summer. It wasn't one of these days Florida State's going to leave. And I don't really believe that the college football playoff snub is as big as people are saying. What is the money. They want money and they want prowess in college athletics. This was coming whether they got snubbed in the playoff or not. And ESPN knew that, as they had a hand somewhere in there, in my opinion, in the college football playoff and its selection process. Here's this, Nathan. According to Tomahawk Nation, who I get a lot of this from, they have been so on the money today, breaking this down immediately. TomahawkNation.com. Ashburn stated Florida State signed the 2016 grant of rights agreement because ESPN gave an ultimatum that it would not enter into any additional media agreements unless the grant of rights was extended through 2036. Following that up with, we don't believe this holds water. So Florida State would not have signed that contract based on that rhetoric had they not understood ESPN was going to pay to 2036. And that's not the case.
Well, and you look at their competitors, and if you want to say they're with the big leagues, they're competing against the SEC and the Big Ten. They went out of their way to grow their product and to build it up for their members. The ACC did not do that. And in a lot of ways, the same way that the Pac-10 did not do that. They were not looking outward to try to find more revenue like the Big 12 is doing now. They weren't looking for those other opportunities to grow. And because of that, the ACC is going to possibly go away in a very shorter time than any one of us could have guessed. You and I spoke 10 days ago, 11 days ago. And when we had that show, I basically said it would take something very significant to break this thing up. We've now seen it. We didn't see it before. It was just a complete screw up for the ACC to say, here's our legal document. We're going to lock it up in a room, and you can't come in and take copies of it. You can't come in and take pictures of it. And so to make it that hard, to make it that laborious to do that, does that sound like a partner? If you were dealing with a business partner and he said, but to come and do business with me, you have to fit through this little hole in my house every day. No, that's not how you do business. So they weren't dealing with them above board. And I'm surprised it took the FSU this long. They've been super patient. I'm surprised it took them this long to do it.
Based on what we're seeing in the lawsuit, yes. I didn't expect to see this until late January, maybe at the earliest. But now that I have seen the amount of possibly fraudulent points that have come out of this grant of rights, it makes sense that Florida State couldn't wait any longer. Here we have enough information. They still feel like to create this lawsuit. Nathan, we buried the lead here a bit. Most people are probably screaming right now, this is all fine and dandy, but Florida State has to pay $570 million. But with this lawsuit, that's what this is about. This isn't about, the ACC is unfair. This is, not only is it unfair, it's unfair to the point that we are not paying that much money in an exit fee.
Well, and there's history here. When Maryland left in 2012, they left at a 2/3 rate. So they only paid a third of whatever that exit was going to be to get out. And because of that, that's exactly what Florida State's going to argue. They're going to say, if you're not going to let us out just free and clear, which would be a song, right? They walk away without paying anything. If the judge says, look, you need to give the ESPN and the ACC something back, okay, fine. We'll give you some much reduced fee to get out of this thing. And that's where the 120 comes from that people have been talking about for weeks, 120 million. But it's not going to have that balloon payment that is also going to be, and by the way, this is what you also have to pay us just for leaving. So the amount of monies we're talking about, $572 million to leave at the end of the day, that's ridiculous. It makes no sense. And it's way above, far away and above what they're making. Yeah. That's the thing. How do you measure a $570 or whatever $1 million leaving fee for a conference deal that you're only making $45 or $50 million a year? It's completely out of scale. And that's what they're going to argue in court.
Yep. Count 7 here. We're looking at the court document that Ross Dellinger tweeted out. Count 7 says Florida State is arguing. They're saying the ACC's punishment violates Florida public policy and is unconscionable with a severe ACC withdrawal penalty. So this isn't Florida State can leave. They just have to pay this big, long fee. No, they're suing so that they don't have to pay that massive fee, which truly, if you look at how they've broken it down, is nonsensical. Over $570 million in total fees to get this thing done. Nathan, before we move on to whether or not this is going to hold up in court, or whether or not Florida State has a full leg to stand on, what does this do for Clemson and Miami and the rest of the especially these 7 teams that already said, hey, we won out a couple of months ago?
Well, but they have to have a home. Right. Yeah. And I think the only one that does today is Florida State. They've talked to somebody. We're all thinking it's the Big Ten. It would be shocking if it was the SEC because of the ESPN deal with the college football playoff. But if it's not the Big Ten, then what's going on in Tallahassee is kind of crazy. So Florida State has a home. Clemson, Miami, I don't know. Yeah. UNC is the only one that we're pretty sure about. However, they are kind of tied in state with their in-state school, NC State. So I don't know. Florida State's the only one I can be pretty sure of. By 2025, they would be out if they said today they're leaving. So it's coming, but we're not sure of those other schools yet. They're definitely going to chase it down now.
Yep. And I'll say this, you don't have to. The AAU distinction in the Big Ten is not something that's going to keep the Big Ten from making money. They're going to find an easy workaround there if they get the brand that they want. But the SEC feels like Greg Sankey is sitting on his hands right now. And the Big Ten is the premier destination for these schools. But if the Big Ten balks or only takes 2 or 4, that's when the door opens for us at Locked On Big 12. Coming up next, will the grant of rights lawsuit end in the ACC's favor or Florida State's? This is Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. I have never taken this advice like I have today at GameTime.com because I just got a little dog back here. Oh, GameTime.co. That's .co. I just got a little dog back here, a little puppy. The crate's in the back. I need to take a break. So I'm going to go to an NFL game this weekend. How do I do it? I go to GameTime.com and .co and I buy cheap tickets, last minute prices. This is no frustrating, no hassle, no anything like that. You just go. You go see the Houston Texans play down in Houston, which is not that far from me. Last minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals, easy to find and buy the whole family tickets for every kind of event in your area. They are obsessed with finding you ways to save money on tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, the Game Time app, terms apply. Create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, the lowest prices, and that is guaranteed.